Captain Marcus Hale was
Wow.
halfway to his
Really?
truck when his phone
I can't believe
vibrated
she's
in his
doing
pocket.
this.
He almost ignored it. It was just another motion alert from the old Nanny camera in the hallway. The camera hadn't been useful in years. He only kept it active because he never bothered turning the system off. Marcus opened the notification while walking across the driveway. Then he stopped moving. The live feed showed his front door opening slowly from the inside. He frowned. Vanessa wasn't supposed to be home. She told him she had a morning client meeting across town. Marcus tapped the screen. The hallway camera shifted slightly as someone stepped inside the frame. It wasn't Vanessa. It was a man. Tall. Confident. Walking like he knew exactly where he was going. Marcus didn't breathe. Then Vanessa appeared behind him. Laughing. Touching the man's arm like she'd done it 100 times before. Marcus stared at the screen as his chest tightened. He watched her close the front door. Lock it. Then she reached up and kissed the man. Not quickly. Not nervously. Comfortably. Like this wasn't new. Like this wasn't the first time. Marcus slowly sat back down inside his truck without starting the engine. His hands were shaking now. He didn't move the camera. He didn't blink. He just watched. For minutes. 11 seconds. That was how long the clip lasted before the system timed out. For minutes that changed 11 years of his life. If you've ever had a moment where everything you believed suddenly shifted underneath you, stay with this story, because what Marcus discovered next shocked even him. Marcus didn't drive to the office that morning. He drove 2 streets over instead and parked beside a closed grocery store. Then he replayed the footage. Once. Twice. 3 times. By the 3rd time, he wasn't shaking anymore. He was thinking. Vanessa had told him she'd be gone all morning. But she wasn't gone. She had brought another man into their house. Into their hallway. Into the life Marcus believed they were building together. He opened the camera app again. Scrolled backward. Checked previous alerts. There were more. Several more. Same time pattern. Late mornings. Midweek. Marcus leaned back slowly in his seat. This wasn't random, he whispered. His voice sounded unfamiliar to him. This was planned. He stared at the notification timestamps. Then he called someone he trusted more than anyone else alive. Caleb, Marcus said when his brother answered. You sound strange, Caleb replied immediately. What happened? Marcus hesitated. Then he said quietly. I think Vanessa's been bringing someone into the house. There was silence on the line. How sure are you? Caleb asked. I watched it. How long? Marcus swallowed. Long enough. Caleb didn't speak for 3 seconds. Then his tone changed. Send me everything. Marcus did. Every clip. Every timestamp. Every alert. 10 minutes later Caleb called back. This isn't new, he said. Marcus already knew that. I figured. Caleb's voice lowered. Marcus, the visit patterns go back weeks. Marcus stared straight ahead through the windshield. How many? 9 weeks minimum. Marcus closed his eyes. 9 weeks. That meant this had been happening while they were eating dinner together. While they were planning the company expansion. While she was sitting beside him on the couch asking about his day. Marcus finally started the truck. I'm coming to you, he said. No, Caleb replied quickly. Why not? Because if this is what it looks like, the last thing you do right now is react emotionally. Marcus gripped the steering wheel tighter. I'm not emotional. You're sitting in your truck replaying footage of your wife with another man, Caleb said calmly. You're emotional. Marcus exhaled slowly. Then what do I do? Caleb answered immediately. You start paying attention. Marcus drove to work that morning like nothing had changed. Because Caleb told him to. Act normal, his brother said. Normal gives you time. Marcus owned Hale Ridge Electrical Services. 12 employees. 3 counties. 11 years of building something from nothing. Vanessa helped with scheduling when the company first started. She answered phones. Handled invoices. Encouraged him when contracts were small and money was tight. Marcus believed they built the business together. Now he wasn't sure what else she had been building behind his back. At lunch, Caleb arrived at the office. He didn't sit. He didn't joke. He closed the door behind him. Tell me everything you haven't said yet, he said. Marcus leaned back slowly. She told me she had a meeting this morning. Caleb nodded once. And? She didn't. Caleb folded his arms. Do you know the man? Marcus shook his head. No. Do you want to? Marcus didn't answer immediately. Yes. Caleb nodded again. Then we do this carefully. Marcus studied him. We? You didn't call me just to talk, Caleb said. You called me because you need help. Marcus didn't argue. Because Caleb used to be a private investigator. And when Caleb looked at the hallway footage again on Marcus's phone, his expression changed. This guy isn't nervous, he said. Marcus leaned forward. What does that mean? It means he's been there before. Marcus felt something cold move through his chest. How can you tell? Caleb pointed at the screen. Look how he walks past the coat rack. Marcus blinked. He doesn't look around, Caleb continued. Doesn't hesitate. Doesn't ask where anything is. Marcus whispered. He knows the house. Caleb nodded. Yes. Marcus stared at the frozen frame again. Then something else hit him. This isn't just an affair. Caleb looked at him carefully. No, he agreed. It isn't. Marcus leaned back slowly in his chair. This is routine. And that realization changed everything. If this story already has you wondering what Marcus discovered next, make sure you like the video and stay with me, because what Caleb uncovered over the next 48 hours exposed something even bigger than Marcus expected. Caleb started with the simplest step. Patterns. He tracked motion alerts. Mapped timestamps. Cross-checked them against Marcus's work schedule. And what he found made Marcus sit very still in his office chair. She knows exactly when you're gone, Caleb said. Marcus swallowed. How exact? Within 15 minutes every time. Marcus looked down at his desk. That's not guessing. No, Caleb agreed. That's planning. Then Caleb did something Marcus hadn't expected. He paused the footage again. Zoomed in on the man's face. You sure you don't recognize him? Marcus leaned closer. No. Caleb stared at the image longer. I do, he said quietly. Marcus looked up immediately. Who is he? Caleb exhaled slowly. That's Derek Lawson. Marcus frowned. The corporate attorney. Caleb nodded once. Vanessa's college boyfriend. Marcus felt the room tilt slightly around him. You're sure? I'm certain. Marcus stared at the screen again. That meant this wasn't random. It wasn't recent. It wasn't accidental. It was history returning on purpose. And suddenly Marcus realized something that made his stomach drop. If she brought him back, he whispered, then she's planning something. And Caleb didn't disagree. Marcus didn't go home early that evening. He stayed at the office 2 hours longer than usual. Not because he had work to finish. Because he needed time to think before he saw Vanessa again. Every normal habit suddenly felt suspicious. Every memory felt different now. When she texted him at 5:12 p.m., his phone buzzed on the desk beside him. Dinner tonight? I'll cook. Marcus stared at the message for a long time. Then he replied normally. Sounds good. Be home around 6. Caleb watched him type it. You're steady, Caleb said. Marcus shook his head slowly. No. I'm careful. Caleb leaned against the doorway. Good. Marcus looked up. What do we do next? Caleb answered immediately. We confirm everything. Marcus frowned slightly. You already confirmed enough. No, Caleb said calmly. We confirmed there's a man. We confirmed there's a pattern. We confirmed she's lying about where she is. He stepped closer. But we haven't confirmed what she's planning. Marcus didn't like the way that sounded. You think there's more? Caleb met his eyes. There's always more. Marcus drove home exactly when he said he would. Vanessa was already in the kitchen. Music playing softly. Dinner halfway finished. She turned when he walked in. Hey, she said warmly. Marcus forced himself to smile. Hey. She walked over and kissed his cheek. The same way she always did. Like nothing had changed. Like she hadn't locked another man inside their house that morning. How was your day? She asked. Busy, Marcus replied. She nodded. Mine too. Marcus watched her face carefully. There was no hesitation. No guilt. No nervousness. Just calm. Comfortable calm. And that unsettled him more than anything else. They ate dinner together like they had for years. Talked about schedules. Employees. Weekend plans. At one point she laughed at something he said. Marcus almost forgot what he had seen. Almost. But later that night, after she went upstairs to shower, Marcus opened his phone again. And this time he checked the motion alerts from previous months. There were more than he expected. Much more. When Vanessa came back downstairs, he was sitting exactly where she left him. Same expression. Same calm voice. Hey, he said casually. Yeah? What's Derek Lawson been doing lately? Vanessa froze for half a second. It was quick. So quick most people wouldn't have noticed. Marcus did. I wouldn't know, she replied. We haven't talked in years. Marcus nodded slowly. Really? Yeah. She picked up her water glass. Why? Marcus shrugged. He came up in a conversation today. Vanessa laughed lightly. Well, that's random. Marcus smiled faintly. Yeah. She went back upstairs 5 minutes later. Marcus didn't move. Because now he knew something important. She wasn't just lying. She was practiced at it. The next morning Caleb arrived at Marcus's office earlier than usual. He dropped a folder onto the desk. I pulled what I could overnight, he said. Marcus looked up. You didn't sleep, did you? Caleb ignored the question. She opened a second account. Marcus blinked. What? A credit union account. Marcus stared at him. How long? Caleb opened the folder. 9 months. Marcus leaned forward slowly. How much? 23,400. Marcus's throat tightened. She moved that much without me noticing. Yes. How? Caleb flipped another page. Small withdrawals. 300. 500. 800. Marcus shook his head slowly. An exit fund. Caleb nodded. That's what it looks like. Marcus leaned back in his chair again. This wasn't just an affair. No, Caleb repeated. It wasn't. Marcus stared at the folder. Then another question surfaced. What else? Caleb hesitated. That's not the only thing. Marcus's stomach dropped slightly. What now? Caleb slid another document across the desk. She met with a financial planner 3 months ago. Marcus didn't touch the paper yet. For what? Caleb answered carefully. To evaluate your business. Marcus finally picked it up. How? She requested a valuation consultation. Marcus read the printed confirmation slowly. She didn't tell me. No, Caleb said quietly. She didn't. Marcus's hands tightened slightly around the page. She's planning to take half the company. Caleb didn't soften the truth. Yes. Marcus sat silently for several seconds. Then he asked one question. Is it legal? Yes, Caleb answered. If you don't prepare. Marcus looked up immediately. What does that mean? It means you need a lawyer. Marcus didn't hesitate. Set it up. For days later, Marcus sat inside a quiet office across from attorney Rachel Mercer. She listened without interrupting. Didn't react. Didn't judge. Didn't rush him. When Marcus finished explaining everything, she folded her hands together. You did the right thing by not confronting her yet, she said. Marcus leaned forward slightly. I almost did. I'm glad you didn't. She opened a legal pad. Right now your advantage is information. Marcus nodded slowly. She's planning ahead. Yes, Rachel said. But now so are you. Marcus exhaled for the first time since sitting down. What do I protect first? Your business. Marcus didn't hesitate. That's everything. Rachel nodded once. Then we start there. Over the next hour she explained something Marcus had never expected to learn about his own life. Documentation mattered. Timing mattered. Behavior mattered. And silence, sometimes, mattered most of all. You don't argue, she told him. You don't accuse. You don't change routines. Marcus listened carefully. Why? Because preparation beats reaction every time. Marcus left her office with something he hadn't felt since the morning the camera alert appeared. Control. But the hardest part hadn't started yet. Rachel warned him about that before he walked out. This next phase takes patience, she said. How long? 6 weeks minimum. Marcus stared at her. 6 weeks pretending nothing happened. Yes. Marcus shook his head slightly. That's going to be hard. Rachel met his eyes calmly. Protecting what you built always is. Marcus didn't tell Vanessa anything that night. Or the next night. Or the next week. He kept eating dinner with her. Talking normally. Working normally. Laughing normally. While quietly preparing everything she didn't know he already understood. If you're still watching right now, stay with this story, because what happened at the charity gala 6 weeks later changed the direction of everything Marcus thought he knew about the man Vanessa brought into his house. 6 weeks passed slower than Marcus thought time could move. Every morning he left the house exactly the same way. Saying goodbye. Same routine. Same calm voice. And every morning he checked the camera alerts the moment he reached his truck. The visits didn't stop. They became predictable. Tuesdays. Thursdays. Late mornings. Always within the same window. Marcus never mentioned it. Not once. Instead, he followed Rachel Mercer's plan carefully. Documentation first. Structure second. Protection third. Caleb helped quietly in the background. Phone logs confirmed 14 months of contact between Vanessa and Derek Lawson. 14 months. Marcus stared at the timeline the night Caleb showed him. That's before the expansion contract, he said slowly. Caleb nodded. Yeah. That's before she started talking about moving closer to the city. Yes. That's before she told me she wanted to handle more financial planning for the company. Caleb didn't answer. Because he didn't have to. Marcus already understood what that meant. The affair wasn't something that happened later. It had been running alongside everything. Alongside business growth. Alongside family dinners. Alongside every conversation about their future. Marcus folded the timeline carefully. She wasn't just leaving, he said quietly. She was preparing. Rachel Mercer moved fast once the documentation was complete. Ownership layers inside Hale Ridge Electrical Services were adjusted. Internal reporting authority shifted. Contract routing responsibilities changed. Not dramatically. Not visibly. Just enough. Enough to protect what Marcus built. Enough to limit exposure under equitable distribution rules. Marcus signed paperwork calmly. Every signature felt like reclaiming something that almost slipped away without him noticing. One afternoon Rachel looked up from her notes and asked something unexpected. Has he contacted you yet? Marcus frowned slightly. Who? Derek Lawson. Marcus shook his head. No. Rachel studied him carefully. He will. Marcus leaned back slightly. Why? Because people like him assume they're smarter than everyone else in the room. Marcus didn't respond. But 3 days later she was proven right. The charity gala invitation arrived on a Thursday evening. Vanessa walked into the kitchen holding the envelope. Corporate outreach dinner next week, she said casually. Lawson and Reed are sponsoring it. Marcus looked up slowly. Lawson? Yeah, she said lightly. Big firm downtown. Marcus nodded once. I know them. She smiled. Want to go with me? Marcus held her gaze for a moment longer than usual. Yeah, he said calmly. I think I do. The ballroom lights were bright enough to reflect off polished glass walls when Marcus and Vanessa arrived together the following Friday evening. Music played softly across the room. Executives. Contractors. City officials. Corporate attorneys. Marcus recognized half the room immediately. The other half recognized him. Hale Ridge Electrical Services had become visible over the last few years. People respected him now. Vanessa stayed close beside him as they moved through the crowd. Comfortable. Confident. Like she belonged there. Marcus noticed Derek Lawson before Derek noticed him. Tall. Same confident walk from the hallway camera footage. Same relaxed posture. Same familiarity. Except now Derek wasn't inside Marcus's house. He was standing inside Marcus's world. Vanessa touched Marcus's arm lightly. I'm going to say hello to someone from the planning board, she said. Marcus nodded. I'll grab her something to drink. She smiled. Thanks. Marcus didn't move toward the bar. He walked directly toward Derek Lawson. Derek turned halfway through a conversation when Marcus stopped beside him. "Derek Lawson," Marcus said calmly. Derek blinked once. "Yes?" Marcus extended his hand. "Marcus Hale." Recognition flashed across Derek's face instantly. Too quickly. Too clearly. Marcus noticed. "Of course," Derek replied, forcing a polite smile. "Hale Ridge Electrical." Marcus nodded. "That's right." Derek shifted slightly. "What can I do for you tonight?" Marcus's voice stayed calm. "You can stop coming into my house." Derek froze. The polite smile disappeared immediately. Marcus held his gaze. "I know about the mornings," Marcus continued quietly. "I know about the visits." Derek didn't speak. Marcus stepped closer. "And I know about the 14 months." Silence surrounded them even though the room remained full. Derek swallowed once. "I think there's been a misunderstanding." Marcus shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "There hasn't." Derek glanced around briefly. Then lowered his voice. "You shouldn't be saying things like this here." Marcus leaned slightly closer. "You shouldn't have been walking through my front door." Derek's jaw tightened. Marcus watched him carefully. Watched the confidence disappear. Watched calculation replace it. Then Marcus said something Derek clearly didn't expect. "I already filed a professional misconduct complaint with your firm." Derek's face changed completely. "You what?" Marcus's voice remained steady. "They take conflict of interest violation seriously." Derek stared at him now. "You don't understand what you're doing." Marcus nodded calmly. "I do." Derek lowered his voice further. "You're making a mistake." Marcus stepped back slightly. "No," he replied. "You made one." Then Marcus turned and walked away. Vanessa returned 10 minutes later carrying 2 glasses. "You disappeared," she said lightly. Marcus accepted one. "Ran into someone I needed to talk to." "Oh. Yeah. Who?" Marcus took a sip before answering. "Derek Lawson." Vanessa's fingers tightened slightly around her glass. "What did he say?" Marcus looked at her calmly. "Not much." She smiled carefully. "Well, he's always been awkward in social situations." Marcus held her gaze. "Yes," he said quietly. "I noticed." 3 days later, Derek Lawson resigned from his firm. The announcement circulated quietly through the contractor network first. Then through legal channels. Then through the City Development Board. Marcus didn't mention it. Vanessa didn't mention it either. But something changed inside the house after that. The motion alert stopped. Completely. No visits. No late morning entries. No hallway recordings. Just silence. Marcus watched the empty notifications for 4 days straight before calling Rachel Mercer again. "It's time," he said. Rachel didn't hesitate. "Yes," she replied. "It is." Vanessa was served the divorce paperwork on a Tuesday afternoon. Not at home. Not at the office. At the cafe where she met her financial planner 3 months earlier. Marcus knew exactly where she would be. Because Caleb confirmed the pattern weeks before. Vanessa called him 30 minutes later. Her voice shaking. "What is this?" Marcus answered calmly. "It's the truth." She sounded breathless now. "You blindsided me." Marcus's voice stayed steady. "No," he replied. "You just didn't realize I already knew." Silence filled the phone line. Then she whispered. "How long?" Marcus answered honestly. Since the camera alert. Another silence. Longer this time. Then she asked the question she probably never expected to ask him. You were pretending all this time. Marcus closed his eyes briefly. No, he said quietly. I was protecting what you thought you could take.